I had this thought, like, where it's like, I should just really just end my life. So I went on to Twitter, like, this is the end of the ropes and stuff like that. Like, I can't take life anymore, goodbye, and stuff like that. And I was really going to do it. I went somewhere, found rope wherever my dad's, like, shed was and stuff. I get a notification on Twitter. It was from Kevin Randleman. I think it was on the private messenger or something, and he was just like, hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on? I just kind of flat out just said, I'm just about to kill myself and stuff like that. And he was just like, what's your number? And I gave it to him. And so, like, about 2 minutes later, I get a call from, like, a withheld number, like a number that I can't, like, trace. He was just like, hello, this is Marcus. And, like, it was Kevin. I just broke the fuck down, like, I mean, you sit there and, like, 1 minute you're about to just, like, kick the chair from under you, and the next second you're talking to the monster himself. He just talked to me a lot about, like, what happened in his childhood and everything like that. And about 20 minutes goes by, and, I told him I wanted to make a change for myself, and he was just like, well, you have to do something about it. I don't want you to just get off this phone and then not do nothing about it, like, do something about it. And I thanked him, and I went and got into counseling. I had never talked about, like, when I was molested and stuff like that when I was younger, and if Kevin didn't talk to me about it, I wouldn't have faced that issue. But, without Kevin Randleman calling me and stuff like that, I'd probably be dead in the ground.
Rex Holman and Kevin were national champs together, and they were wrestling in practice, and Kevin lifted Rex from behind, and in the flurry, Rex fell on Kevin's side of his face on the mat, and everything just stopped, and he had dislocated both of his, the joint of the jaw on each side of his face. It was actually protruding out. And they got him into the training room, then they took him to the university hospital. It took him, I think, well over an hour to get it reduced back into place. And at the time, the doctor said that, he was going to be out of competition. Well, we're a week away from the national tournament. We had finished up the Big Ten, and in the middle of practice. He said, well, you're not going to be able to let him wrestle because there's a chance that he could dislocate it again. He could injure a nerve. And I said, well, that's not my decision to make. I said, he's a defending national champion. Because he said, even at the time when the doctor was telling him he couldn't compete anymore, he's kind of mumbling through his lips because his jaws are swollen. And he said, they're not going to stop me, Coach. They're not going to stop me. And I said, Kevin, just relax. He said, we'll leave it up to you. It'll be your decision. And, he elected to go, obviously. He knew it was going to be his last year, and he wanted to do it. I think we were in whether it was the quarterfinal or the semifinal match. I can't really remember, but in the middle of action, he dislocated one side of his jaw again. And we took the injury time. We had our trainer out there, and they even had a doctor trying to get his hand in there to get it back into place. And the referee came over and said that, your injury time is almost out. You have 15 seconds. And nobody was able to, get it fixed. And Kevin pushed everybody away, and he dropped from his feet down to the mat and literally bounced his side of his head off of the mat, and it went back into place. He finished that match, and he got into the finals, and we had a guy who had a front headlock, which would obviously have made it a very painful thing. But Kevin kept his chin pulled down to his jaw and did a lot of great wrestling in winning that national championship. So, he was committed to being a national champ, and, that to me was a reflection of what Kevin was willing to do to see through the dream that he always had for wrestling. And he was a tough guy. He was able to endure a lot of pain, put up a lot of things, but it was a good story ending for a guy who was totally committed to see the battle out, and he did.
Mark Coleman also remembers the moment Kevin's jaw popped out that last time very clearly.
And then he looks at me and says, pop my effing jaw back into place. And honestly, that was a bit too much for me. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, that's too much to ask, Kev. I don't even know nothing about jaws. But he's looking at me saying, come on, hit me. He's telling me to hit him in the face, hit his jaw back into place. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. I'm crazy, but I'm not this crazy. So anyways, he dropped down to the mat, slammed his head on the ground a couple of times, stood back up, and he looked at me and he looked at Russ, and he said, I'm ready to go. I'm good. It was just an easy fit. I was already doing pro wrestling. And then the next thing you know, Pride started their own organization, Hustle. And then, there it was. It just fell into place. And me and Kevin are going to be the American tag team. We got wrestling signets on, wrestling shoes on, and we're going to whoop your ass. We got in there, and I would stand in the middle of the ring, and he would get behind me. I would stand real firm and bend my knees a little bit, but this guy would run and jump and just touch my shoulders and do the splits and jump over top me and land right in front of me and then kneel down, and then we would hit our pose. What the fuck? It was, he was just a super freak, spectacular. He just really was. And I remember him being on the top rope, and he was doing a flying elbow off the top rope. Not an easy move. Well, they had him halfway across the ring when he started, and he kept bringing the guy back about a foot, and he kept asking Kevin if he could jump this far. And he said, yeah. Next thing you know, the guy's pretty much on the other side of the ring, and Kevin Randleman is flying through the air in practice, landing a perfect elbow drop to a guy's chest. Anyways, so we go back to the hotel room that night. We're laying there, and Kevin's like, oh, man. He goes, I don't feel so good. I go, what are you talking about? What's up, buddy? He said, oh, man, my whole leg hurts, my whole hip. It's just real sore right here. I don't know why. I go, what do you mean you don't know why, Kevin? I said, you jumped off the top rope 10 times for nothing. I said, save your jumps off the top rope for when they're paying you.
Japan's an interesting place, and the fans find out right away what hotels we're staying at, and they literally camp in the lobbies to get pictures and autographs. And Kevin was just one of those guys that they loved and just would mob him. And he was very gracious and took his time and, would even slap them, which sounds weird, but that's what they want. They're somehow enamored with the size of our hands and generally, I think, just because we're much larger than most of the people in that population. So they kind of want that. They ask you if you'll slap them, which is kind of strange. But I saw him line up 6 of them and just walk down the line.
What was amazing about their relationship was she knew how to calm him down and bring him back. Kevin reminded me a lot of the Hulk. If you got him to the green, you're not stopping him. You got to get out of the room. There's no talking to him. And Elizabeth was the woman that would calm him down to bring him back to Kevin.
Russ knew right away that Kevin was someone special. With a sub-4.3 40-yard dash time and a 38-inch vertical, Kevin's measurables were unbelievable.
Was dynamic and explosive and scored a lot of points. And he was really a talented guy. He had a lot of native ability. It was almost freakish.